Good morning, everybody. It's about 10:45 here. We're in Dumont, New Jersey on the CSX River line. First time out on the river line in a while. We've got a M434 coming north this morning with has CSX 1976 leading, followed by a CSX 911, both in the front. So that'll be a really good catch. They're both washed, super clean, because they were at a CSX event up in Buffalo and then they came down here. So they both look really good, so I'm excited to get them together. I haven't seen 1976 yet. 404 is coming first, though. He is going by CP10 right now, so he'll be here in about 5 minutes.
Hello, and welcome back to another video. Throughout the past few years, CSX has undergone some serious changes. Older locomotives have been stored, some locomotives have been rebuilt, and some have even been repainted into heritage schemes to honor railroads of the past. And though some constants remain, such as the abundance of GE Evolution series locomotives, the railroad certainly has a new look to itself that is vastly different than just a few years ago. These changes will be the subject of today's video as we examine what CSX railroading looks like throughout the second half of 2024. Starting off the video, we have train M404 this morning being pulled by a GE AC4400CW and an ES44AH, the workhorses of CSX's fleet throughout the first 2 decades of the 21st century.
Roger, Chevy Task gives the 434 of the leader 1976 permission to his entire conditional workshop. Output 2R 4.1 and 2R 7.0. North direction coming out of Bellman on to number 1 track north, max authorized C3 train over.
434 with the CSX 1976 RV has Foreman JD's permission through his work area 7.0 to 4.1. Coming out of Bellman, north direction for track 1, max authorized speed over.
Roger, the time authorized 11:12 over.
12, Roger.
All right, update 11:15 a.m. M218, the autorack train, is coming south. He's meeting the 404 that we just caught at CP22, 9 miles from here. He should be getting moving any minute now. So he's gonna go south, and then the 434 with the 1976 leading just got their job briefing done down in North Bergen, I think at CP5. So they're coming up to CP10, where the triple track down there singles up. 218 is gonna get by, get on the triple track, and then 434 is gonna come up north past here. So should be getting our target train here in about the next half hour.
M218 is heading south now with more CSX GE engines in a 1x1 DPU configuration, an operational practice adopted by CSX only a few years ago, which has now become widespread across the railroad. In just a few more minutes, M434, our target train of the day, comes north. Numbered for the year it was founded, like all other CSX heritage units, number 1976 honors Conrail, which was acquired in a split by CSX and Norfolk Southern in 1999. The portion of track where we are now, the River Sub, is former Conrail territory, making this unit feel right at home. The second unit, CSX number 911, is painted to honor first responders in a sharp red and white scheme. Debuted in 2019 along with Veterans Unit number 1776, this was CSX's first crack in years at a specially painted mainline engine. It was clearly received well given how many special units CSX has painted since then. Finally, the third unit, CSX number 4763, while in standard CSX paint, represents one of the railroad's recent rebuild programs overhauling 20-plus-year-old EMD SD70 Max to extend their service life. Since 2019, all of CSX's 4500 series SD70 Max were rebuilt, and in the past year, the program was extended to the flared radiator model like 4763. It's great to see these units back out on the rails. As M434 heads north, we bid farewell to the Riverline for the day and for the rest of the summer. It's now November of 2024, and we're back out on the Riverline. At CP7 in Bogota, New Jersey, 3 trains sit awaiting their next movement. The reason for everything being stopped was the northbound autorack train M267 was stalled out, blocking the only available track through the area south of the crossovers at milepost 5 in Ridgefield Park. So while they figured out their game plan, we moved 100 feet to the west to New York, Susquehanna, and Western's MC Yard, where road train SU-99 was assembling its consist with quite the lash-up of power. The last engine in the consist, Delaware Lackawanna number 3560, is an Alco M420W. Originally built for the CN, the unit was on lease to NYS&W for a few months in 2024 and is now being returned to home rails in Pennsylvania. Just like on CSX, change here on the NYS&W is constant, the Alco being the latest example in a string of motive power changes taking place, which saw the railroad's fleet of standard cab SD60s replaced by big SD70M-2s, 3 of which are pulling this train today. After clearing the switch, the yard crew assembling the SU-99 reverses onto its next cut of cars. Attached to the next cut, the train now pulls forward past another switch and repeats the same process, backing on to the full consist of its train. With the consist now solid, the crew pulls the entire train north of the yard lead switch, reverses it, and backs the train down onto the main line where it will be staged for this evening's departure of SU-99. While all of this was happening, dispatchers and the car department were trying to figure out what to do about the stalled M267 at Bogota. It was decided that the best course of action would be to simply reverse downhill and try again, so that is what they did. In a little while, M267 comes back north with the single unit giving it all it has to get out of town, and this time it is successful. As the look of CSX continues to change in the 2020s, locomotives wearing the 1990s era YN2 paint scheme like number 422 here are becoming harder to find, as many of the AC44CWs wearing this paint scheme are being rebuilt and repainted. This is just another aspect of change on the railroad as CSX upgrades its motive power fleet, so make sure to photograph these gray and blue units while you can, even if the newly painted rebuilds look pretty sharp. With the line now clear, we knew one of the southbounds would be getting underway shortly, so we moved 2 miles down to Ridgefield Park, where we ran into another NYS&W job, this time a switcher using leased CSX power. In just a few minutes, that southbound I-158 came into view. Leading the train were 2 factory-fresh CM44AC rebuilds, the finished product of the AC44CW overhaul that I mentioned in the previous clip. Rebuilding has become a widespread practice across freight railroads in recent years. It is often cheaper to rebuild an old locomotive than to buy a new one, making this a very attractive option. CSX currently takes part in 2 major rebuild programs for its road engines, the CM44AC program for AC44CWs done by GE, and the SD70 Mace program for SD70 Max, which is done in-house. These units sure have given the railroad a new look as they become more common, and the paint when they are factory fresh like these 2 is stunning. As I-158 continues south, we will once again say goodbye to the River Line until the following month when we'd be back out for some more action to end off 2024. It's now Christmas Eve 2024, and a brief festive snowfall greets us as we start our morning. I love snow shots, and I-003 looked great as it came into CP22 entering the siding. I-003 this morning has a mixed bag of GE power, 2 Evolution Series engines followed by a CM44 rebuild, an unrebuilt AC4400, and another CM44 rebuild. .003 was crawling into the siding for a meet with UPS train I-010, loaded with last-minute Christmas presents and the highest priority train on the River Line. I-010 typically carries a large cut of international shipping containers bound for Port Newark, New Jersey that it picks up en route. However, during the holiday season when UPS traffic is at its peak, these containers run on their own dedicated train so that I-010 can run fast and only with high priority traffic. After our first two trains, the snowstorm subsided, and in a little while longer, CSX M410 came north behind two GEs.
Sector, milepost 20.5. No defects. No defects. Total axle 500. End of transmission.
41021 has no defects, orange. CSX T824.
M410 is usually a very large train, and today is no different, with traffic from up and down the entire eastern seaboard bound for Selkirk all combined into one train heading north. Notable on this edition of M410 are a handful of Tropicana refrigerated boxcars. These cars normally run north on hotshot intermodal train I-032, but have been temporarily rerouted onto manifest trains while Baltimore's Howard Street Tunnel undergoes work for expansion to handle double-stack containers. There are currently no trains running through Howard Street Tunnel as it is rebuilt, including the I-032. In a future video, I will discuss in detail the extensive rerouting operations that CSX has undertaken in order to clear the Howard Street Tunnel of all traffic to perform this necessary infrastructure project for the company. Up next is northbound intermodal train I-169 with some international stacks heading to Chicago. When I think of a transitional era in railroading, similar to what is happening with CSX's motive power today, I think of consists like I-168s here. Number 7088 is back again in its fresh paint, leading EMD SD40-2 number 8094, which was built in 1980. One of the newest engines on the roster, coupled to a 45-year veteran still getting the job done, is very cool to see. Contrasting the shiny new leader on I-168, up next is M409 with an old grungy YN2 AC44CW leading the way. few minutes after M409 went south, the northbound signal lit up, so we stuck it out at CP22 for one more train before leaving to engage in Christmas Eve festivities. We were sure glad we did, as the northbound ended up being train I-159 with CSX number 1877, the C&EI Heritage Unit, trailing. The Chicago and Eastern Illinois Railroad, or C&EI for short, was founded in 1877 as the Heritage Unit road number suggests, and linked Chicago, St. Louis, and Evansville, Indiana. It ceased operations in 1976, with trackage being split between Missouri Pacific and the Louisville and Nashville, the latter of which eventually became part of CSX. We would head out after I-159, but would be back out in a couple of days for one final train. On December 26th, we got word that CSX M433 had CSX number 1967, the Seaboard Coastline Heritage Unit, trailing in the consist. This being one of my favorite of their heritage fleet, we headed out to get them coming south. With another CM44AC rebuild leading and the Heritage Unit second out, M433 sure looks good with CSX's new kids on the block leading the way. The Seaboard Coastline Railroad was formed in 1967 through the merger of Eastern Giant's Seaboard Airline and Atlantic Coastline. It served the southeastern United States until 1983, when it formally merged with numerous other Southern Class I railroads to form the Seaboard system, which a few years later absorbed the Chessie system to form CSX. Change is a constant on the railroad, and transitional eras where old equipment is still widespread while new equipment is phased in are fun to document for the mixed bag of locomotive consists one can see. This is certainly the case at CSX. As YN2 locomotives disappear, the fresh paint of CM44 and SD70 rebuilds are becoming increasingly more common. The CSX Heritage program is extensive, with every locomotive bringing with it a splash of color and historical significance. It certainly is an interesting time to document CSX, and I hope you enjoyed taking a look at how the railroad is evolving. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.